Chosen one. Pause for a moment. Can you feel it? The atmosphere around you has shifted. Heaven has silenced its choirs to listen for the sound of your awakening. The stars bear witness that something eternal has begun to move on your behalf. You have reached the crossroads where destiny and divine timing meet. Nothing about this moment is random. Every breath that fills your lungs right now is proof that you have survived what was meant to destroy you. You are not here by accident. You are a divine interruption in the flow of ordinary existence. The battles that almost broke you were not punishment, they were preparation. Every time life pressed you to the edge, you were being stretched to contain more of God's glory. What others saw as endings were, in truth, the beginnings of your transformation. You thought you were losing everything, but heaven was quietly clearing space for the miraculous. Listen carefully. Heaven has not forgotten you. The silence you mistook for absence was God working in secret. The pain that made you question His love was the very tool He used to shape your strength. You are a vessel forged in the fire of trials. Every tear that fell was counted. Every prayer that seemed unanswered was stored. Now, the seal on your waiting season is being broken. What was once hidden will now be revealed. There were nights you looked at the ceiling, asking if heaven still saw you. And though no sound came, the answer was yes. Every cry vibrated through eternity, and angels were dispatched in silence. Heaven does not always roar sometimes. It whispers. Hold on, morning is closer than you think. Even now, as you read this, the unseen realm stirs around you. A shift is happening not only in your mind, but in the very space you occupy. The energy of divine promise is rewriting your atmosphere. Every limitation placed upon your name begins to crumble under the sound of destiny awakening. The Word of God declares in the book of Philippians, chapter 4, verse 13, I can do all things through Christ, who gives me strength. This strength, chosen one, is not ordinary human endurance. It is divine empowerment. It is the same strength that lifted you when your mind whispered, I can't go on. It is the quiet courage that made you get up one more time after every fall. It is the holy fire that kept you moving when logic said, stop. That strength is the proof that heaven lives within you. You may not have realized it, but you've been walking through a sacred initiation. Every trial was teaching you how to carry more glory. Every disappointment was breaking chains you could not see. Every betrayal was positioning you closer to the throne, prepared for you. The breaking of your heart became the doorway through which divine purpose could enter. Now the heavens have issued a decree. It is time. The season of mere survival ends tonight. You are stepping into a new rhythm, a divine tempo that matches heaven's heartbeat. The world may still see scars, but heaven sees the crown. You are the living evidence that endurance births elevation. What you endured privately is about to become public testimony. You have walked through fire, but the fire could not consume you. You have walked through floods, but they could not drown you. The fact that you are still here means the promise still stands. This moment is sacred because it carries the energy of completion and the fragrance of new beginnings. Heaven has not only watched you, it has chosen you to be a sign for others who are still in their storms. So, lift your eyes. Beloved, heaven leans close when the chosen ones rise. The same hand that wrote your name before the foundation of the world now writes a new chapter in light. This is your divine unveiling. You are not stepping into favor, you are stepping into fulfillment. Every delay has expired. Every chain has snapped. The prophecy over your life is now breathing. If these words resonate in your spirit, don't ignore the pull. You know this message found you for a reason. Type the number 777 inches. The comments below as a prophetic sign that you receive what heaven has already released. Then, like, share, and subscribe, because every act of agreement multiplies the message of awakening to others still trapped in doubt. This is not hype. This is holy confirmation. You are rising into the very promise spoken over your bloodline. Heaven stopped for you because you have arrived at your appointed hour. The miracle is no longer on the way, it has entered your atmosphere. Breathe it in. Step into it. And remember, you overcame. Chosen one. Only heaven knows the battles you fought when no one was watching. The world saw your smiles, but not the nights your soul trembled under invisible weights. There were days you walked through rooms filled with people and still felt unseen moments when silence became both your refuge and your prison. Yet, even there, heaven was recording every breath, every whisper of pain that never found words. You were never abandoned in your struggle. You were being witnessed in secret by the one who never sleeps. You thought no one noticed your tears, but they became sacred ink in the pages of your destiny. Every unspoken prayer that rose from your pillow carried a fragrance too holy to be ignored. The universe itself leaned in when your heart broke. Because there is something divine about a soul that refuses to surrender. You are proof that the unseen war is real and that victory can be born in silence. Many gave up where you continued. Many walked away from the same valley you endured. They could not have carried what you carried because you were chosen for a unique weight, one that would birth a unique anointing. Heaven trusted you with pain, not to punish you, but to shape you into the kind of vessel that could hold power without pride. You see, pain is the language of transformation. Every sleepless night was a conversation between your spirit and eternity. While you thought you were breaking, you were being refined. While you cried for escape, heaven was teaching you endurance. The invisible battles are always the most sacred ones, for they reveal the strength no applause can measure. There were days your prayers felt like echoes lost in the wind. You wondered if God still heard you. But, chosen one, the truth is deeper than your doubt. Heaven was answering in whispers, not shouts. The silence was never absence, it was divine instruction. You were being trained to hear beyond noise, to trust without sight. We are reminded through the writings of David in the book of Psalms, chapter 56, verse 8. You have kept count of my tossings, put my tears in your bottle. Are they not written in your record? Every tear mattered. Every sigh became sacred currency in heaven's economy. You may not have realized it, but your pain built altars. Each tear watered the soil where your miracle now grows. The nights you thought were wasted were actually the hours heaven used to prepare the foundation of your promise. There is something extraordinary about a heart that keeps believing after being broken. You have carried hope through darkness, faith through silence, and love through rejection. You are not simply a survivor, you are a living prophecy. The fact that you still have compassion after betrayal, that you still choose kindness after cruelty, reveals the divine nature within you. You were never fighting for survival, you were fighting for identity. And now, as you look back, you can see it how every rejection redirected you. how every disappointment carried a hidden blessing, how every season of emptiness became a lesson in trust. You were being built quietly for what others will one day marvel at publicly. You were being trained in solitude for leadership, tested in shadows before being crowned in light. No, chosen one. Nothing was wasted. The pain had purpose. The waiting had weight. Even the loneliness had language. You were being taught to speak with heaven's accent, to listen with heaven's ears. That is why you cannot fit where you used to belong. Your spirit has grown beyond the measure of your past. Your silent battles are sacred evidence of divine endurance. The strength that carried you here was not human, it was heavenly. And though no one else may ever understand the full cost of your journey, heaven does. That's why you were preserved when others perished. That's why peace has started returning, even before the miracle fully arrives. You are walking proof that grace is not an idea, it is a force. So rest now, not because the war has ended, but because you have learned how to fight differently. You no longer swing your sword in fear, but stand still in faith. The God who watched you cry is the same God who now smiles upon your restoration. You are held. You are seen. You are loved with a precision that defies language. Your story is not a tragedy, it's a testimony written in invisible ink, revealed only to those who have survived the fire. You carry light now, not because life was kind, but because you refused to let darkness define you. That is the mark of the chosen, to rise quietly, steadily, gloriously, until heaven's plan is complete. Chosen one. Do you remember the nights when darkness felt alive, when it pressed against your chest like a weight you couldn't name? When fear whispered that maybe, this time, you wouldn't make it through? Those nights weren't just moments of despair, they were battlefields. The enemy tried to convince you that your story had ended, but heaven had already written a resurrection into your script. What hell called defeat, heaven called training. You see, every attack against you was an announcement of your purpose. The darkness never fights what doesn't threaten it. The enemy came for you because you carry light that exposes his schemes. You are not weak, you are warfare in human form. Your very presence disrupts demonic agendas. That's why it felt like everything was against you. It wasn't because you were cursed, it was because you were chosen. Every sleepless night, every moment you said, I can't do this anymore, and still woke up to try again, that was spiritual warfare. And you won. Hell trembled every time you prayed through your pain. Every time you refused to become bitter, light pushed back the shadows. You became a moving declaration that love is stronger than hate, that faith outlives fear. When darkness surrounded you, heaven was closer than ever. Angels stood guard at the edges of your despair. You didn't see them, but you felt a whisper inside, urging you to hold on. That whisper was not your imagination, it was divine intervention. It was God saying, I am not finished with you yet. Now, as Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Now, this was never a fair fight. Chosen one. The darkness never had a chance. You were born from the light, crafted in the fire of eternity, and sealed by divine promise. Even when your hands trembled, the flame inside you burned steady. Every time you thought you were about to fall apart, grace stepped in quietly, weaving strength through your weakness. There were moments you thought the battle was too much. But what you didn't know was that heaven was building a testimony out of your survival. You weren't just fighting for yourself, you were fighting for every soul connected to your purpose. When you stood your ground, even in silence, the ripple of your endurance touched generations yet unborn. You became a guardian of light, a silent warrior in the kingdom's plan, chosen one. Your scars tell a holy story. They speak of resilience. They whisper of the nights you prayed through tears and found peace instead of answers. They remind the darkness that it failed. The same wounds that once bled now shine as proof that nothing formed against you could win. You are walking evidence that divine protection is real, that miracles still wear human faces. Now, take a breath. Feel that warmth in your chest. That's the same light the enemy tried to extinguish. It survived. It's growing stronger. The more you embrace it, the less power fear will have over you. Darkness feeds on doubt, but it starves in the presence of faith. Every moment you choose hope, you expand heaven's territory on earth. This is not the end of your battles, but it is the end of the illusion that you are powerless. You have learned to see beyond the surface, to recognize that spiritual warfare doesn't always roar, it often whispers. You've discovered that victory isn't about noise, it's about consistency. You kept showing up. You kept believing. That's what terrified hell. So now, as you stand on the other side of that storm, I ask you to do something simple but powerful. Go to the comments and write, "Light wins." Write it not as a reaction, but as a declaration. Because every time you say those words, you are reinforcing heaven's truth on earth. You are testifying to every soul that reads your words that no matter how dark it gets, the light always finds a way through. You are adding your voice to a chorus of overcomers, reminding the world that hope is undefeated. Let your comment become your covenant, a visible sign of invisible faith. Because every time a chosen one declares that light wins, darkness loses another inch of ground. You are not just participating, you are prophesying. The night has passed, the dawn is rising, and you once hidden in shadows now shine with the brilliance of divine survival. The enemy couldn't stop your heartbeat, and now he can't stop your breakthrough. Keep your head lifted. You're no longer fighting for the light. You are the light. Chosen one. You have carried more than your own pain. You have carried the echoes of generations. There were burdens that didn't begin with you, yet you bore them as if they were your own. The patterns that haunted your family line, the cycles of loss, silence, and fear. Heaven saw how they stopped with you. You were not just enduring hardship, you were breaking history. It wasn't coincidence that you were born into that family. At that time, under those circumstances, heaven placed you exactly where the pattern needed to end. You were the one designed to face what others avoided, to heal what others ignored. While others collapsed under the same pressure, something divine within you refused to surrender. You didn't just survive, you rewrote the narrative. You have carried the weight of ancestors who never found peace, of dreams that never reached fulfillment. Their pain cried out through bloodlines, seeking resolution. And heaven answered through you. Your struggles were not random storms, they were generational assignments. You became the bridge between what was and what will be. You stood where others fell and turned pain into prayer, wounds into wisdom. The Spirit spoke through the words of Jesus in the Gospel of John, chapter 8, verse 32. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Breaking generational chains is not a gentle work. It shakes foundations. It disturbs comfort zones. It exposes what has been buried under silence for too long. You felt that shaking not because you were cursed, but because you were chosen to cleanse what others carried. You were heaven's response to a lineage that cried out for restoration. There were moments when you looked at your reflection and wondered if you were strong enough to carry this responsibility. You questioned whether you were equipped to heal wounds you didn't create. But that's the mystery of divine calling. You were prepared long before you were aware. Every instinct of compassion, every urge to forgive, every inner push to keep going was evidence that heaven had already trained your spirit for this mission. Chosen one. Your pain had purpose. When you forgave what seemed unforgivable, you broke a chain. When you loved in the face of rejection, you tore down a stronghold. When you refused to let bitterness take root, you freed your descendants from carrying that same weight. Your obedience in pain became someone else's deliverance. The spiritual weight you carried was immense. But look at you now. You stand in a lighter atmosphere. The heaviness that once followed you begins to lift. That's the sign of completion. The assignment that once drained you has turned into peace. The warfare that once defined your nights now bows before your worship. You are no longer reacting to generational pain. You are rewriting it into generational blessing. It was never about breaking people. It was about breaking patterns. The ones who hurt you were often repeating what they never healed from. You were sent not to condemn, but to correct the flow. You've shown that cycles of pain can end, not through vengeance, but through revelation. You've proven that love truly is the most powerful weapon in heaven's arsenal. You are the answered prayer of those who came before you. Somewhere in your ancestry, someone whispered a plea for change, and heaven chose you as the response. That's why your path was heavier, why your process was lonelier, and your lessons more intense. You weren't being punished. You were being purified for purpose. The freedom you've gained now extends far beyond you. It touches every generation after you, your children, your family. Even those connected to your life's orbit, they walk lighter because of what you endured. You've broken unseen agreements. You've rewritten spiritual contracts. The curse ends with you, and the blessing begins through you. You may not receive applause for this work, but heaven celebrates it. The angels who witnessed your perseverance record your name among those who stood between darkness and destiny and refused to yield. The earth itself recognizes your vibration has changed. It no longer resonates with pain, but with peace. So breathe deeply. Chosen one. Feel the shift within your spirit. The chains are gone, and the inheritance of peace has been activated. You are not bound by the past, you are guided by promise. And as you continue to walk forward, remember this: you are not just healed, you are a healer. You are not just free, you are freedom embodied. The story of your bloodline now carries light because you said yes when others stayed silent. You answered heaven's call, not with perfection, but with perseverance. And that, beloved, was enough. The truth has done its work. You are free, and your freedom echoes through eternity. Chosen one. Heaven's eyes have never left you. There are moments in life when you think you've been walking alone. But the truth is, you have been surrounded the entire time. Even when your steps felt uncertain, there were unseen hands steadying your path. When you stumbled, Angels caught what could have shattered. When you cried in silence, heaven wept with you. You see, your story was never being ignored. It was being watched from above with the tender attention of a creator who writes poetry through pain. Every sigh, every pause, every fragile prayer that left your lips, heaven heard them all. Like a gardener who watches over the smallest seed, God waited patiently for the right season to let your bloom unfold. The world may not have noticed, but heaven did. Every time you stood up after being knocked down, the earth shifted slightly beneath your feet. Because perseverance carries power, every time you chose love instead of bitterness, light expanded a little more through your lineage. You didn't just survive, you sowed hope in the soil of despair. And now that seed has begun to grow, for it is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, "For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways." No, chosen one. That verse isn't metaphor, it's your biography. You have been carried by unseen strength. You've walked through shadows that should have consumed you. But the flame within refused to die. Heaven's protection has always been near, not as a distant promise, but as a present reality. There's a reason the air feels lighter around you lately. It's not just relief, it's recognition. Heaven knows you've passed the hardest tests. You've learned what it means to trust without visible evidence, to move when nothing makes sense, to love even when love isn't returned. That's what makes your light so rare. It's been refined in the furnace of unseen faith. Now, imagine this. You are standing at the edge of a vast garden. Behind you are the weeds of old wounds. But before you stretch acres of untouched soil, glistening under morning dew. This is your new season. The angels who once guarded you through storms now stand ready to help you build. The same heaven that carried you through pain now commissions you to plant purpose. Chosen one. This is not a small thing. You carry the scent of resurrection. Everywhere you walk, new life begins to stir. People will not understand it. At first they'll just feel peace when you enter a room. That's because you've become a vessel of divine calm. You're no longer just surviving the presence of heaven, you are radiating it. But remember this, light is meant to be shared. Just as fire multiplies when it touches another flame, your story carries the power to ignite others. There are souls wandering through their own valleys, looking for proof that endurance is possible, and you are that proof. Sometimes your survival becomes someone else's faith. Sometimes your honesty becomes another person's healing. So, I want to ask something gentle of you. If this message touches something deep inside, if it reminds you that heaven has been closer than your breath, then take a moment to let that light move. Share this message so it can reach another wandering heart. Like it. Not for me, but as a symbolic act of gratitude, like placing a candle on an altar. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Not as a routine, but as a way of staying close to this stream of light that flows week after week, word after word. Because sometimes, faith isn't about grand gestures, it's about small acts of agreement. It's about quietly saying, yes, I see what heaven is doing, and allowing that yes to ripple outward. When you interact, you aren't just engaging with content, you're engaging with calling. You're saying, this light found me, and I'll help it find another. Then, your journey has always been about more than personal victory. It's about connection. You are part of a divine network, a web of chosen souls scattered across the earth, each carrying a spark, each awakening in their own time. And when one of us rises, the rest feel it. That's why your voice matters. That's why your light matters. So let your gratitude flow like fragrance. Let your hope echo through your actions. You are no longer hidden. You are a lighthouse built on a mountain of endurance. And every act of kindness, every shared truth, every moment you choose to lift another soul is proof that you remember where your strength came from. Heaven is still watching. The same eyes that guarded you in silence now smile as you begin to walk in purpose. You've made it through the valley. Now teach the world how to climb. Chosen one. The moments that broke you were never meant to bury you. They were meant to build you. What you called breaking, heaven called birthing. The pieces of your old life were not wasted. They became the foundation of the power you now carry. When the light inside you seemed to flicker, heaven was gently teaching you that even in ashes, the flame survives. Every ending you experienced carried a hidden beginning. You didn't lose everything. You were being emptied so you could be refilled with something eternal. What felt like destruction was transformation in disguise. Pain pressed you, but it could not consume you. You were shattered. Yes, but from the cracks, the glory began to seep through. The ancient words recorded in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 12, verse 9 remind us, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Those words were not written for someone distant. They were written for you. You are the living embodiment of that verse. Grace has carried you through seasons you couldn't explain, through storms that left others lost. When your own strength failed, something divine rose within you. That strength wasn't borrowed. It was born in you. You've learned that there is beauty in breaking. The fire you faced purified your motives, clarified your vision, and refined your heart. You discovered that brokenness isn't the end, it's the birthplace of authenticity. When everything fell apart, heaven was removing what could not go with you into the next chapter. Chosen one. Your power was never meant to come from comfort. It grows in resistance. Diamonds are only formed through pressure. Gold only shines after fire. The same is true for your soul. What you called unbearable became the exact thing that birthed your unshakable strength. Every tear you shed became a seed of resilience. You may not realize it, but every time you refused to give up, heaven applauded. Every time you whispered, "Still I rise," the spiritual realm shifted. The angels marked your endurance as victory. The universe recorded your perseverance as prophecy fulfilled. Think about it. The very storms that tried to drown you taught you how to walk on water. The heartbreaks that threatened to hollow you out made room for deeper compassion. The doors that closed on you redirected you toward destiny. What was meant to destroy you ended up defining you. You are no longer who you were when the breaking began. You have evolved into something sacred, someone who understands that real strength isn't loud, it's quiet, steady, and anchored in grace. You don't need validation from the world anymore because heaven already stamped you with approval. Now, something powerful is happening around you. You may not see it with your eyes, but feel it in your spirit. The restoration has started. The same hands that allowed the breaking are now rebuilding you piece by piece. Stronger, wiser, and more radiant than before. You are being rebuilt not to look the same, but to carry a new design, one that can hold more glory. This is your metamorphosis. Chosen one. The old you no longer exists. And that's a good thing. The pain didn't kill you, it revealed your divine architecture. You were never fragile, you were sacred. And what heaven builds, no darkness can undo. Now, before you move on, pause for a moment. Feel the weight of what you've endured and the lightness of where you stand now. The storm has passed, but its lessons remain. You carry the wisdom of survival, the courage of one who has faced death of the self and emerged alive with purpose. This is a holy moment, one where your spirit is realigned with heaven's rhythm. If this message stirs something deep within you, take a moment to acknowledge it. Go to the comments and write 888. That number, chosen one, is a symbol of new beginnings and divine renewal. It marks resurrection, the birth of something new out of what was once lost. By typing 888, you are not performing a ritual, you are affirming alignment. You're saying to heaven, I am ready for restoration. I accept my rebirth. No, do not underestimate the power of agreement. When you act on faith, you anchor what is spiritual into the physical. You turn revelation into reality. This simple act, just 3 numbers, becomes a signature on your next chapter. A visible declaration that you understand your breaking was never your ending. You are no longer defined by wounds, you are defined by wisdom. You no longer walk with fear, you walk with fire. The same tears that once marked your pain now water the garden of your purpose. And soon, the world will see what heaven already knows, that your breaking birthed beauty, your ashes became an altar, and your weakness was the womb of divine power. Chosen one. Your story is not over, it's unfolding in glory. Chosen one. There is something the darkness learned about you that it never expected. Your faith terrifies it. The enemy has studied your weaknesses, tested your limits, and whispered lies to your heart. Yet nothing could make you surrender. He tried to break your mind, but your spirit refused to yield. Even when you didn't understand what heaven was doing, you kept walking. That defiance, your refusal to quit, is divine warfare. Faith, in its purest form, is rebellion against fear. It is the quiet audacity to believe when nothing looks possible, and that is what you have mastered. Even unknowingly, the enemy's goal was never just to hurt you, it was to silence your belief. Because when a chosen one stops believing, light flickers. But you didn't let the flame die, you protected it in your tears, guarded it in your silence, and kept it alive through worship, whispered under trembling breath. Do you realize what that means? Your faith has become a weapon. Every time you prayed while bleeding, you struck a blow against the kingdom of darkness. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, you disarmed the plans that were meant to trap you. Every time you rose from the floor of defeat, you declared to the unseen realm, I still believe. According to the writings in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 7, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. The enemy thought he could use your pain to silence you. Instead, pain became your pulpit. The very place where you were attacked became the place where your authority was born. What was meant to shame you now shines through you. What was meant to bury you has become your foundation. The world sees your calm, but heaven sees your courage. You have fought invisible wars and emerged clothed in quiet strength. The sound of your footsteps has become a threat to darkness. because each step carries testimony. Every moment you breathe is a reminder to hell that grace cannot be defeated. Think of your journey. Chosen one, the nights you cried out to God and heard nothing. The days you walked through disappointment and felt unseen. Those were not empty seasons, they were sacred training grounds. The silence taught you trust. The confusion taught you surrender. The waiting taught you endurance. Heaven was not ignoring you, it was equipping you. Now you move differently. You no longer react to every shadow or tremor. You discern. You listen. You have learned that not every storm deserves your attention, and not every whisper deserves a reply. You've grown into someone the darkness cannot predict. Because you no longer fight with emotion, you fight with discernment. And that terrifies the enemy most of all. Because now he cannot manipulate you with fear. He cannot make you question your identity or chase false validation. You have become anchored. Your roots run deep in truth. And that depth makes you unmovable. Faith like yours shakes the atmosphere. It doesn't need noise. It carries authority in silence. You've learned to stand still while the storm rages, knowing that stillness is not weakness, but command. The calm you carry now is a weapon far greater than any roar of defiance. It confuses the enemy because he expected panic, but found peace. Chosen one, you are dangerous to darkness because your faith no longer depends on visible evidence. You have seen too much of God's faithfulness to doubt His presence now. You no longer need proof. You are the proof. Your survival, your strength, your unwavering trust are living testimonies that light always wins. There is a kind of peace that only comes after war, and you carry it. It's not fragile, it's fortified. It's not passive, it's powerful. It doesn't ignore darkness, it outshines it. That peace radiates from you now, silencing chaos wherever you go. You've become a walking contradiction to fear itself. And the beauty of it all is that you didn't earn this through perfection, you learned it through perseverance. You fell. You wept. You questioned. But you never abandoned faith. You kept showing up. That's what made you unstoppable. So now, as you continue to move forward, remember this truth. Your faith doesn't need to be loud to be lethal. The enemy fears your quiet trust more than your loud declarations. Because faith that has been tested and proven becomes unbreakable, you have already proven that no matter what darkness throws at you, you will stand. And when you stand, heaven moves. You carry that authority now. The light within you doesn't just survive darkness, it conquers it. Chosen one, the tides have begun to turn. The winds that once blew against you now carry you forward. You may not yet see the full picture, but heaven is orchestrating a reversal so profound that even the scars of your past will testify of divine justice. The pages that were stained with your tears are being rewritten in light. What was once your sorrow is transforming into your song. You have stepped into a season where the unseen court of heaven has ruled in your favor. The evidence has been weighed, the petitions recorded, and the decree released. The reversal has begun. Every injustice, every betrayal, every delay that seemed endless heaven is now balancing the scales. What you lost will not only be restored, it will return multiplied. This is not wishful thinking, it is divine order. For the prophet once wrote in the book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 25, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." Those words are not distant history, they are living prophecy. breathing into your timeline. Now, restoration, in heaven's language, is not simply replacement. It is redemption. It's when what was taken returns in a form so refined that even loss begins to look like strategy. The things you thought ended were simply being upgraded. The opportunities that slipped away were seeds buried for a better season. You are entering the divine exchange. The pain you offered in surrender is being traded for peace. The tears you sowed in faith are returning as laughter. Every no that broke your heart was actually a redirection towards something greater than you could imagine. You were not being punished, you were being positioned. There are divine laws at work that human logic cannot comprehend. Heaven never forgets the kindness you gave when you had little, the forgiveness you offered when others gave you pain, the prayers you whispered for those who betrayed you. All of it was recorded. And now, the harvest begins. But understand this, divine reversal isn't only about what comes to you, it's also about what leaves you. The relationships that drift away, the habits that no longer fit, the thoughts that once felt natural but now feel heavy. These are signs of spiritual reordering. Heaven cannot fill a vessel still clinging to what was. The reversal demands release. So let go. Chosen one, let the ashes fall from your hands so you can receive gold. Let the old dreams dissolve so heaven can hand you blueprints for new ones. What's being removed is not rejection, it's refinement. You are being calibrated for restoration. You will begin to see confirmations everywhere, unexpected opportunities, sudden reconciliations, peace in areas that once held chaos. The signs will not shout, they will whisper. They will come in small, sacred moments, a message that arrives at the right time, a door that opens without effort, a sense of calm where there used to be fear. These are not coincidences. They are markers that the decree of reversal has taken effect. Heaven has a way of turning humiliation into honor. The same voices that mocked you will be witnesses to your rising. Those who overlooked you will wonder how you blossomed so quickly. But you will not gloat. Your heart has been humbled through pain. You will carry your restoration quietly. As one who knows that mercy, not merit, brought you here. There is something holy about watching justice unfold without bitterness. You no longer need to explain yourself, defend yourself, or seek validation. Heaven has spoken, and that is enough. The truth that once hid in shadows is now stepping into light. Vindication doesn't arrive as vengeance, it arrives as peace. Chosen one, feel the rhythm of this season. The same universe that once seemed still now hums with movement in your favor. The energy around you vibrates with restoration. The very ground beneath your feet remembers your tears and blossoms in gratitude. What was meant for evil has been rewritten as good. And when you look back, and you will, you'll see the pattern clearly. Every detour was direction. Every delay was protection. Every ending was a divine edit in the script of your becoming. You'll see that nothing was wasted. That heaven used even your heartbreak as clay in the shaping of your destiny. The reversal is not coming, it's already here. Quiet, steady, unstoppable, like dawn after a long night. It begins subtly, but it will grow until the world cannot deny it. The story that began in pain is now being rewritten in power. You will not chase what was lost, it will find you. Drawn by the light of your obedience. Chosen one. This is the moment everything shifts. You've waited, you've prayed, and you've endured what felt like an endless silence. but heaven has not been idle. What you are stepping into now is not coincidence. It is prophecy fulfilled. This is your turning point, the hour when the delay breaks. When the promise hidden beneath years of struggle begins to rise to the surface, there is a rhythm to divine timing. And though it may have seemed cruel in your waiting, it was always perfect. Heaven needed the right alignment of people, places, and purpose. You had to grow into what you were asking for. You had to become the kind of vessel that could hold what was being prepared for you. And now, the fullness of time has arrived. The prophet's words echo in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. Though it tarry, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not delay. Those ancient words still breathe life into you now. Every delay was not denial. It was direction. You weren't being held back. You were being built. The dream you carried was never dead. It was simply maturing in the silence. The appointed time has now reached its dawn. And the visions once dormant within you begin to pulse with divine electricity. Chosen one. Can you feel it? The atmosphere around you is shifting. The tension that once surrounded your spirit is dissolving. Doors you knocked on years ago are unlocking with no effort at all. You don't have to force this season, it flows. What used to exhaust you will now respond to your presence, because you are aligned with heaven's movement. This is not just the next chapter, it's an entirely new book. You are moving from surviving to thriving, from enduring to expanding. The promise you carried through wilderness seasons is now manifesting before your eyes. What once felt distant now feels inevitable. The winds of destiny are no longer pushing against you, they are carrying you. But remember this, turning points often come quietly. They are not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes they arrive in small confirmations, a peaceful morning after chaos, a phone call that shifts your path, an unexpected opportunity that feels too precise to be coincidence. These are heaven's fingerprints. They are reminders that you are walking inside a prophecy that was spoken before time began. You've been through enough to know that divine fulfillment rarely looks the way we imagine. It's less about grand gestures and more about divine flow. It's not about striving anymore, it's about surrendering to the timing you once feared. You've graduated from panic to patience, from frustration to faith. And that shift alone was enough to unlock this season. You are entering acceleration now. What once took years will take months. What once took months will unfold in days. There's a divine quickening upon your path, but you must stay grounded in humility, remembering that speed without wisdom leads to confusion. Let gratitude be your anchor as heaven's current lifts you higher. And as you walk through this unfolding, don't be surprised if you sense divine, déjà vu familiar places revisited. But now, with new authority, God often sends you back to the same ground, not to repeat old lessons, but to rule where you once struggled. The same places that witnessed your pain will now witness your power. This is your turning point, not because you forced it, but because you remained faithful. Heaven responds to persistence, not perfection. You held on when letting go would have been easier. That faith has rewritten your atmosphere. The delay has expired, and destiny has entered full manifestation. Now I want you to seal this moment, not for me, but for yourself. Go to the comments and write, "It is time." Write it not as hope, but as declaration, because when you speak those words, you align your spirit with the rhythm of fulfillment. You're saying, I recognize my moment. I step into what's been waiting for me. These 3 words are not empty, they are agreement. They mark the shift from waiting to walking, from believing to becoming. When you type them, feel the power beneath their simplicity. You are proclaiming that you are ready for divine acceleration, ready for restoration, ready for the fullness of what was promised. Heaven moves through agreement, and your declaration becomes a signature on the next page of your destiny. Chosen one, the tide has turned. The promise has ripened. You have entered the very hour. Creation has anticipated for you. The years of preparation were never wasted. They were necessary. You are stepping into the place where prophecy meets reality. The wait is over. This is your turning point, your divine moment of unveiling. The heavens whisper your name, and all creation leans forward to watch what happens next. Chosen one, can you feel the sound of heaven calling your name? It's not a whisper this time, it's a trumpet. The same heaven that once watched you crawl through wilderness now calls you to rise in front of witnesses. You are stepping out of obscurity into revelation, not because you demanded it, but because divine timing has summoned you. This is the sound of elevation, the moment when hidden things become seen, when what you carried in secret begins to shine in public. Heaven has always had your name written on a scroll of promise, waiting for the hour when your preparation would meet divine announcement. That hour has come. The trumpet has sounded. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. These are not poetic words, they are marching orders. To arise means to no longer apologize for your calling. To shine means to let your divine purpose be visible, not dimmed by doubt or fear. You were never meant to stay hidden forever. Your light was designed for visibility. And now, heaven calls it forth. This is what elevation feels like, not the clamor of pride, but the peace of recognition. The same people who once misunderstood your silence will now witness your song. The same voices that questioned your worth will have no words when they see the grace that now rests upon you. But don't let bitterness taint this moment. Chosen one, elevation is not a ladder, it's a sunrise. You don't climb it, you become it. Every lesson, every heartbreak, every act of obedience you offered in the dark now blends together like the first rays of dawn. Slowly, the horizon begins to glow, and the world notices light without hearing it speak. That's how your rise will look silent, yet unmistakable. People will begin to feel the change before they can explain it. They will say, "Something about you feels different," and it will be true. You won't even have to announce that you've changed. Your presence will preach louder than words. You've become a living sunrise, gentle but undeniable. But remember this, light doesn't compete. It reveals. Your rising doesn't diminish others, it illuminates them. The same light that lifts you is meant to awaken others to their own purpose. That is the beauty of divine elevation. It multiplies, not divides. Now that your season of visibility has arrived, walk with grace. Speak with humility. Let your actions, not your achievements, testify of the glory within you. Every step you take from now on carries weight, because heaven's trumpet has declared you ready. You are no longer chasing doors. Doors will recognize your name. And as you move forward into this new dimension, I ask something small but sacred of you. If this message has found a home in your spirit, If it has reminded you of your divine worth and stirred your courage to rise, then take a moment to like this message, not as a click, but as a covenant. Let that small act be your way of saying, I rise with purpose. Oh, then, share this message, not because you must, but because light is meant to travel. When you share, you are extending the sunrise. Somewhere, someone sits in darkness, waiting for a reminder that dawn is possible. Your simple act could become their awakening. And if you have not yet done so, subscribe, not out of habit, but as a way of remaining connected to the flow of heaven's voice through these words. Each message is a seed, each one another trumpet sounding the next stage of your journey. Stay close to what nourishes your spirit. Stay where your faith is fed. You are not just a listener, you are part of this unfolding story. The same heaven that called your name calls others. And through your connection here, the sound grows louder. Together, we become a chorus of awakenings, a movement of light rising across the world. Chosen one, let this season teach you that elevation is never accidental. You did not stumble into favor, you were sculpted for it. The storms that once confused you were polishing mirrors so your light could reflect more clearly. You are not being promoted for effort alone, but for endurance. You held faith when it made no sense. And now, heaven trusts you to carry influence with integrity. Rise softly. Walk wisely. Shine boldly. You are not in competition with anyone. You are in collaboration with heaven. Let the trumpet within your spirit sound wherever you go. Let your words lift. Your actions heal. Your presence inspire. This is your divine unveiling. Your holy dawn. Your moment to stand where only faith could have carried you. Heaven's trumpet still echoes your name. Chosen one, rise and let the world see what grace looks like when it takes human form. Chosen one, now that you have risen, heaven begins to clothe you. The old garments, the worn-out identity, the fear, the guilt, the weight of shame fall away like dust in the morning wind. You are no longer marked by what broke you, you are marked by what built you. The time of hiding has ended, and in its place comes the mantle of the overcomer. There is a sacred exchange taking place in the unseen realm. The ashes you carried from your old life are being traded for oil, the oil of power, authority, and clarity. Every battle you endured has earned you spiritual garments, tailored perfectly for your destiny. You wear strength now. You wear peace. You wear wisdom that no book could have taught you. The words of heaven, recorded in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 11 declare, "They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." The mantle of the overcomer does not arrive with noise. It rests quietly upon shoulders that have learned humility. It covers you in peace that does not waver when storms return. It gives you vision beyond the visible, courage beyond the natural, and wisdom born from wounds that have healed the right way. The overcomer doesn't speak from theory, but from survival. You know the texture of pain, the taste of fear, the silence of unanswered prayers, and yet you also know the sweetness of restoration. That contrast gives your voice power. It's what makes your presence holy ground. You don't have to announce that you've changed. Those who encounter you will feel it. You now walk in divine authority, not the kind that demands recognition, but the kind that shifts atmospheres quietly. When you enter a space, peace follows. When you speak, heaviness lifts. When you pray, the air itself seems to bend in reverence. This is what happens when a soul has been refined by fire. It begins to carry the temperature of heaven. Chosen one, never doubt that your scars are sacred. The world might tell you to hide them, but heaven uses them as language. Each healed wound speaks of endurance. Mark says, I was pressed, but I did not break. These scars are proof that light can inhabit fragile vessels and still shine undimmed. The mantle upon you is not light, it carries weight. But it's the kind of weight that steadies you, not burdens you. It's the awareness that every word you speak now carries creative power. It's the understanding that you are no longer just surviving in grace, you are stewarding it. People will look to you for strength, for hope, for direction. You don't have to be perfect for that. You only have to remain authentic. And authenticity is your new armor. Pretending was what drained you before. Honesty is what empowers you now. The world is hungry for truth, for light that doesn't boast but simply is. You carry that light. You are its vessel, its mirror, its messenger. There will still be battles ahead, but they will not look the same. You will not fight as a victim now, but as a victor. The same storms that once intimidated you will now recognize your authority. Demons that used to chase you will flee before your silence. This is not arrogance, it is spiritual maturity. The more you've known pain, the less you fear it. Because you've seen what comes after, you know resurrection firsthand. Chosen one, you stand now between two worlds, the visible and the divine. Heaven trusts you as a bridge between them. You are called not only to receive light, but to radiate it in every word, every choice, every interaction. The mantle you wear reminds you that power is not loud, it's consistent. Do not shrink from the light now resting upon you. Wear it with reverence. Carry it with grace. You have earned this moment, not through perfection, but through persistence. Every prayer whispered through trembling lips. Every act of forgiveness you offered when anger felt easier, all of it has woven the fabric of this mantle. The world may never fully understand what you've been through, but that's not your burden anymore. Your only task now is to walk as one who has overcome, to live as proof that grace is greater than grief, that love is stronger than loss, and that heaven's hand is still upon those who refuse to let go. You are the overcomer, crowned in silence, robed in purpose, glowing with the authority of survival. And as you walk forward, the universe recognizes you not as who you were, but as who you've become, chosen one. The air around you hums differently now. What you've been praying for, waiting for, yearning for, in quiet expectation, it's no longer a distant promise. It's here. You've stepped into the threshold where faith becomes sight. The miracle you thought would never come has begun to take shape, not as a dream, but as reality moving toward you. You can sense it even before you see it. Things that once resisted you are beginning to flow with you. Conversations, encounters, and opportunities seem to align with uncanny precision. The very atmosphere around you has changed. This is not luck. This is divine orchestration. Heaven is revealing what it has been arranging behind the veil. Sometimes, miracles don't arrive with thunder. They unfold softly, like dawn breaking after the longest night. You may have expected fireworks, but God prefers precision. Every detail has been calibrated, every piece designed to fit perfectly in time. Your miracle isn't just an answer, It's a masterpiece woven with intention. The Apostles' words echo in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 1, verse 37, "For nothing will be impossible with God." Chosen one. You need to understand, miracles are not always loud. They often begin as whispers, as small alignments that build momentum until the impossible becomes inevitable. You might notice that fear no longer grips you the way it used to, that peace lingers longer than before, that you can smile again without forcing it. Those are signs that your miracle has entered your space. You have passed through the valley of despair, and now you stand in the field of fulfillment. But do not rush this moment. Let gratitude soak into your soul. Don't overlook the beauty of beginnings just because you're expecting grandeur. Sometimes the most divine acts come disguised as ordinary days. A healed heart, a new opportunity, a sense of purpose reborn. These are miracles. 2. Remember how long you prayed for this. How many nights you wondered if heaven had forgotten. Remember the ache, the waiting, the uncertainty. And now, see how subtly the shift has come. That's how grace works. It moves gently, yet it moves mountains. This is your moment to breathe deeply, to rest, and to recognize that you've crossed into answered prayer. The weight you carried for years is beginning to lift. The clouds that shadowed your spirit are breaking apart. You are walking beneath open skies again. But hear me, this is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a greater one. Miracles are never random. They are invitations to deeper trust. What you receive now is meant to strengthen your faith for what's ahead. You are being trained in abundance, just as you were trained in lack. The same grace that sustained you in wilderness now sustains you in harvest. There will come a moment, perhaps even now, when your heart feels an unfamiliar stillness. That stillness is not emptiness, it's completion. The divine has finished something in your life. The waiting is over. The circle has closed. The prayer that once trembled in your mouth has found its echo in heaven's yes, no, chosen one. As you read these words, your miracle is aligning. The proof may not yet be visible, but the presence of peace is confirmation. Peace always precedes manifestation. It's heaven's way of saying, it is done. No. So, right now, I want you to mark this moment. Go to the comments and type 9,999. That number, 9,999, symbolizes divine fulfillment when one season ends completely and another begins without residue. It means the completion of what was started, the sealing of what has been promised. When you write it, you're not just commenting, you're agreeing with heaven's timing. You're declaring, it is completed in me. Oh, this act isn't superstition, it's synchronization. By typing 9,999, you step into prophetic alignment with what heaven has already finished. It's a statement of faith, a way to plant your signature on the chapter God has written for you. Look around you. Chosen one. Things will begin to confirm themselves. People will reach out unexpectedly. Answers will arrive in ways you didn't plan. What once felt like resistance will turn into acceleration. You are standing in the flow of miracles. You don't chase them anymore, they chase you. And as the days unfold, remember, gratitude is your gatekeeper. Keep your heart open. Keep your faith grounded. The miracle you now hold is living proof that God still keeps His promises. Chosen one. The miracle has arrived. not as a sudden explosion, but as a steady revelation. Step into it fully. Live it boldly. You waited long enough. Now it's time to walk in the wonder of answered prayers. Chosen one. You now walk through the world differently. The air no longer feels heavy with fear, and your spirit no longer bends under invisible weight. Something deep within you has shifted, an understanding, a quiet knowing that you are protected beyond measure. You have stepped into the realm of divine immunity, where no weapon formed against you can prevail. The battles you once feared no longer hold power over you. The same storms that once shook your confidence now only remind you of how firmly you stand. You have become untouchable, not because life will never challenge you again, but because your roots have gone deeper than circumstance. You are grounded in grace, covered by covenant, and sealed in divine authority. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 17, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn." Now, think back, chosen one, on the moments when fear nearly convinced you to surrender. Remember the people who underestimated you, the lies spoken behind your back, the seasons when your name was mishandled. Each of those moments became a classroom. You learned to discern who was for you, who was against you, and who was simply meant to teach you discernment. Every sting prepared you to stand stronger. Now, your peace is your weapon. Your stillness is your armor. The chaos that once intimidated you no longer finds entry because the gates of your heart are guarded by wisdom. You no longer need to defend yourself with noise. Silence, carried in divine confidence, speaks louder than any rebuttal. The world still spins with confusion and fear, but you remain centered. It's not that life stopped throwing challenges at you, it's that you stopped reacting as if they could destroy you. There is a calm authority about you now, a spiritual gravity that tells the unseen realm, "I know who I am." And once you know that, everything changes. This peace did not come cheaply. You earned it through nights of prayer, through tears that felt endless, through choosing forgiveness over retaliation. Every choice to remain kind when it would have been easier to harden your heart built a layer of divine armor. You have learned that revenge is weak, but redemption is powerful. Chosen one. Protection doesn't always look like escape. Sometimes it looks like strength in the middle of the fire. It's the grace to stand firm while everything shakes around you. It's walking through the same storms that destroy others and emerging untouched. That's what heaven has wrapped around you now, a covering so complete that even your enemies will have to acknowledge it. You may notice it already. The arrows that used to pierce you now fall harmlessly at your feet. Words that once wounded you no longer sting. You see through motives instead of reacting to them. You've gained spiritual clarity that filters everything through peace. That clarity itself is protection, because deception cannot survive in the light of awareness. Sometimes, the greatest sign of divine favor is not the absence of trouble, but the inability of trouble to touch you. You move differently now because you've learned that safety is not in distance but in presence, the presence of the one who walks beside you through it all. You've also learned that not every battle deserves your attention. Some conflicts dissolve the moment you refuse to engage. You have mastered the sacred art of stillness, and that mastery has made you invisible to chaos. The enemy can sense your peace, but cannot penetrate it. He can see your confidence, but cannot corrupt it. You are becoming what the scriptures call a fortified city, not made of walls, but of wisdom, not built of stone, but of surrender. Every prayer you've ever prayed has become a brick. Every act of trust has become mortar. Together, they have built a fortress that cannot fall. Now, you walk in what prophets once described as shalom, wholeness, completeness, divine balance. You lack nothing. You fear nothing. You owe nothing to fear, because love has cast it out. Your steps are guarded, your thoughts protected, your spirit unshakable. And this is the true meaning of immunity, not that you will never be attacked, but that you will never again be defeated. You have become a living testimony that grace outlasts warfare. Chosen one, the arrows will still fly, but none will pierce you. The whispers will still rise, but none will define you. You carry the seal of divine protection, the evidence of one who has walked through fire and emerged untouchable. You are proof that heaven defends its own. Chosen one. There has always been a crown waiting for you, even when you were unaware of it, when you felt unworthy, unseen, or forgotten. The crown was there, resting in heaven's keeping until the appointed time. It was never lost, only hidden. And now, that time has come. The crown that once shimmered in prophecy is being placed upon your head in fulfillment. This is not a crown made of gold or jewels. It's a crown woven from endurance. Every trial you survived, every heartbreak you healed from, every act of faith you offered in pain, each became a strand in its design. What you thought was breaking you was actually crafting the symbol of your divine inheritance. You were being shaped for royalty long before you realized you were chosen for it. It is written in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day. That crown represents more than victory. It represents alignment. You have endured not just hardship, but transformation. You've passed through the refining fires that separated what was temporary from what was eternal. And now, as you stand beneath heaven's light, that crown does not make you proud, it makes you humble. It reminds you that power is not a possession, but a trust. The crown has always been yours. Chosen one. But only now can you carry its weight. It is light to heaven, but heavy to those who wear it without understanding. This crown is not decoration, it is designation. It is the sign that you have become who you were always meant to be. You wear it quietly, because true royalty does not need to prove itself. Your dignity now speaks louder than defense. Your peace is the robe that accompanies your crown. The authority you carry does not shout. It whispers truth into the hearts of those who encounter you. The world may never call you royalty, but heaven already has. This crown also carries responsibility. It calls you to live with grace, even when others misunderstand you. To lead without dominance. To love without measure. Every word you speak now has power, not because of position, but because it flows from purity. The crown reminds you to keep your heart clean, for the true throne sits within. Chosen one. This is what maturity in the Spirit looks like, not arrogance, but awareness. You no longer chase approval. You radiate purpose. You no longer fear rejection. You rest in identity. You have learned that being chosen isn't about being above others. It's about being available for heaven's work on earth. The crown you wear is service disguised as glory. There will still be moments that test your humility. People might question your peace, misunderstand your confidence, or resist your growth. But don't let their perception shake your posture. A crowned heart does not argue with noise. It simply keeps shining. You were not crowned for applause. You were crowned for assignment. Think of how a crown rests. It doesn't cling. It doesn't force. It simply sits, balanced upon the head of one who stands tall. That is how grace rests on you now, effortlessly, securely, naturally. The crown becomes you because you have become truth. When you look back over your journey, the pain, the confusion, the moments of doubt, you'll see that none of it was random. Every fragment of your story contributed to this moment. Even the tears were golden threads in the tapestry of your becoming. The crown now sits where pain once lingered. The same head that bowed in sorrow now lifts in quiet triumph. This is not the end of your transformation. It is the unveiling of what was hidden within you all along. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to bear the signature of heaven. That crown is the seal of that calling. It doesn't make you untouchable, it makes you unstoppable. And though others may see only a calm face or a confident presence, heaven sees something greater, a heart that still kneels even while it wears a crown. Because the true test of royalty is not in ruling, but in remaining surrendered. So wear your crown, chosen one. Wear it not as a trophy, but as testimony. Let it remind you daily that the fight was not in vain, that every dark night had purpose, and that heaven never once forgot who you were. You are crowned, not because you conquered everything, but because you never stopped believing through it all. And now, you walk not just as a survivor, but as a sovereign of grace. The crown has always been yours. Now, at last, the world begins to see it shine. Chosen one. Sometimes heaven seems silent, and you wonder if your name has faded from the scrolls of remembrance. You think of all the prayers you whispered into the dark and wonder if they vanished into nothing. But heaven wants you to know you were never forgotten. Every word, every tear, every act of faith has been gathered like jewels in divine hands. Your name has never left the lips of God. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 16. I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls are ever before me. Think about that. Beloved, the very creator of the universe carries your name in his own hands. Every time he moves, every time he blesses, every time he writes new stories in the heavens, your name is right there, etched in love, carried in permanence. Heaven's memory never fades. You are not a passing thought. You are an eternal inscription. There were seasons when you felt invisible when the phone stopped ringing, when support disappeared, when even your own voice felt small. Yet while the world overlooked you, heaven observed you. You were hidden, not forgotten. Hidden so your roots could grow deeper. So when you finally bloomed, no storm could uproot you. Hidden not for punishment, but for protection. Chosen one. You have to understand, when God hides something, it's because it's precious. Jewels are buried in the earth. Seeds are hidden in soil. And destiny is often concealed in delay. While others were seen and celebrated, heaven was cultivating you in silence. That's why your growth feels sacred. It was nurtured in divine secrecy. And now, you are emerging. Slowly, steadily, beautifully. The same hands that held your name are now revealing your purpose. You are stepping into divine visibility, not through striving, but through timing. It's like a sunrise. You can't force it. But when it comes, everything changes. Your story is about to speak for itself. The kindness that went unnoticed will now echo. The love you gave without return will come back, multiplied. The prayers you thought went unanswered were never ignored. They were simply stored for the right season. And now, heaven opens the jar of remembrance and pours favor where you once felt forgotten. Picture this moment as a garden after rain. The soil still dark, the scent of renewal in the air. That's your life right now. Things you planted long ago, words of faith, acts of forgiveness, seeds of obedience are pushing through the surface. The harvest is not random, it's righteous. The forgotten ground is blooming again. But here is what makes this moment sacred. It's not just about receiving, it's about recognizing, to remember that the same grace that raised you is meant to reach through you. Every story of survival becomes a stream of healing when shared. Every testimony becomes an invitation for another heart to hope again. So, as you read these words, if something within you stirs, if you feel that tug of familiarity, that quiet recognition that this message is yours, pause and honor it. Like this message as a way of saying, yes, I feel seen again. Let that small gesture become your silent prayer of gratitude. Then, if your heart feels led, share it not for attention, but for connection. Somewhere, someone is sitting where you once sat, feeling unseen, unheard, forgotten. Your share might become their reminder that heaven still remembers names. And if you haven't yet, subscribe, not out of routine, but as a way of staying close to words that remind you of who you are. Think of it as tending a fire. Every message adds another piece of wood, keeping your spirit warm through the changing seasons. Finally, I invite you to comment, say whatever your heart wants. Even if it's just, I remember, because those two words are powerful. They echo heaven's own declaration, I have not forgotten you. When you write them, you're not just interacting, you're declaring your place in the divine narrative of remembrance. Remember, chosen one. Being remembered by heaven doesn't always mean being seen by everyone. Sometimes it means being preserved until the moment your purpose is ready to serve others. Your season of hiddenness shaped your depth. Your emergence will reveal your design. You were never overlooked, you were observed. Never abandoned, you were appointed. And now, heaven turns the page and writes your name in light for all to see. So breathe deeply and rest in this truth. You are remembered. You are restored. And your story is not over. It's just being retold from heaven's perspective now. The silence was not empty. It was sacred space, preparing you for sound. And now that heaven speaks your name again, the earth will have to listen. Chosen one. Light has always lived within you. But now, it begins to move beyond you. You have become more than a survivor. You are a vessel of restoration. Wherever you go, something shifts. The air feels lighter, the atmosphere steadier, and hearts that come near you begin to heal without knowing why. That is the power of divine light. It doesn't need explanation. It simply reveals. You carry what heaven calls redemption light. It's not the blinding light of spectacle, but the soft, steady radiance that brings peace to chaos and clarity to confusion. You have walked through the valley, and now your footsteps are soaked with the oil of understanding. Every space you enter remembers what it was like before you came, and it will never be the same after. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden." Every conversation you hold now has purpose. Every moment of stillness is charged with divine potential. You may not always realize it, but people are drawn to you because their spirits recognize what their minds cannot name. They sense the atmosphere of heaven resting on you. You don't have to preach, your peace speaks. You don't have to prove, your presence persuades. You have become an answer to prayers you'll never hear. Somewhere, someone asked God for peace, and He sent you. Somewhere, a heart asked for proof that light still exists, and you walked into the room. This is how divine assignments work. They rarely announce themselves, yet they transform everything around them. Chosen one. Your restoration isn't for you alone. It extends outward, touching places that were once abandoned. Your forgiveness is healing families. Your wisdom is awakening communities. Your endurance is inspiring generations that will never know your name, but will live freer because you said yes when everything in you wanted to quit. There is power in presence, and you've learned to wield it without effort. You don't have to fix everything. Sometimes, just being there is enough. You've learned that light doesn't argue with darkness. It simply shines until shadows retreat. And that's exactly what you do now. You walk into heaviness and shift it. You speak peace into confusion and watch it settle. You bring life where there was decay, clarity where there was noise, hope where there was exhaustion. This is what redemption looks like. It's not loud. It's luminous. It doesn't demand attention. It invites transformation. Your role in this season is not to prove your light, but to position it. Stand where heaven places you, and everything near you will begin to change. You are not a flicker, you are a torchbearer. The same fire that once purified you now empowers you to ignite others. You've been entrusted with light, not to boast, but to build. Your presence is prophetic. It speaks of what the world could become if more souls dared to heal. And healing, chosen one, is contagious. Every act of forgiveness you embody spreads like fragrance. Every word spoken from compassion becomes medicine to unseen wounds. You redeem the land simply by walking on it, because you carry heaven's frequency, the vibration of restoration. The ground beneath your feet remembers the footsteps of pain, but now it also feels the rhythm of peace. You are a living testimony that broken things can shine again. Your life whispers to the weary, it's not over. The way you move, the way you speak, the way you listen, all of it reflects the quiet glory of someone who has seen the worst and still believes in beauty. There's no need for you to announce your mission. The light knows where to go. It flows through you naturally like water through roots, like wind through trees, like dawn through open windows. That's how heaven redeems the world, through the presence of people who carry light without trying to own it. So, continue to walk gently but boldly. Let your light fall on broken places, not with judgment, but with grace. Be patient with those still learning to trust the dawn. You were once there, too. And when you feel weary, remember, even the sun rests behind clouds sometimes, but it never stops shining. You, chosen one, are that light now. The land responds to your footsteps. The atmosphere bends toward peace in your presence. and heaven rejoices every time you let your heart shine freely. You are the living bridge between heaven and earth, God's reminder that redemption has come, not in thunder, but in the soft, steady glow of love made visible. Chosen one. The journey has brought you here to the place where everything makes sense in the quiet. You have walked through the fire, wrestled with the storm, and faced the silence that once terrified you. Now, as you stand in the calm of fulfillment, heaven's purpose becomes clear. You were never meant to merely survive, you were meant to reign. This reign is not the rule of domination, but the reign of divine authority. It's not about crowns and thrones, it's about stewardship and light. You rule not over others, but over the realm within you, the kingdom of peace, the domain of faith, the empire of endurance. Heaven's glory flows through you now, not as noise, but as knowing. You have become what you once prayed for. The Apostle Peter once wrote in the first letter of Peter, chapter 2, verse 9, "You are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light." That truth is your inheritance. You are part of a divine lineage, a generation of light-bearers chosen to carry heaven's authority into earthly reality. You are not here by accident, you are here by assignment. And your assignment is this: to embody grace in a graceless world, to reflect peace in chaos, and to remind the earth that heaven still reigns. Look at how far you have come. The same hands that once trembled in fear now carry purpose with confidence. The voice that once cracked under doubt now speaks with clarity and compassion. You have learned that the greatest power is not in control, but in surrender, because what you release to heaven, heaven multiplies. You reign now because you have been refined. The trials that stripped you of pride clothed you in humility. The losses that emptied your heart made room for wisdom. Every season of pain was a coronation in disguise. While the world saw you breaking, heaven saw you building. You were being prepared to carry the weight of light. The reign of the chosen ones is not loud. It's not about dominance or spectacle. It's about stillness that unsettles darkness, kindness that disarms cruelty, faith that redefines the impossible. You carry authority not by force, but by flow. When you walk into rooms, balance returns. When you speak, confusion untangles. You reign by restoration. Chosen one. Your authority is love. That's what makes you dangerous to darkness and magnetic to grace. Love is the true scepter of heaven, the only power that never corrupts, never farders, never fails. You reign every time you choose compassion over retaliation, every time you lift another instead of seeking revenge, every time you forgive what could have poisoned you. That is divine rulership in motion. This reign also carries responsibility. You have seen too much to return to blindness. You have been entrusted with perspective, the ability to see beyond what others call final. Where others see ruins, you see rebuilding. Where others see endings, you see evolution. You've learned to speak life into death, to call light into darkness, and to find beauty even in the ashes. Now, heaven expects you to live from that place of vision, not to withdraw from the world, but to walk into it carrying the atmosphere of eternity. You are no longer a bystander to divine plans. You are a co-laborer in their unfolding. The reign of the chosen ones is about participation, not observation. It's about being the vessel through which heaven's order touches earth. And as you walk in this new authority, you'll notice something beautiful. You don't need to fight for recognition anymore. The anointing upon you speaks louder than any introduction. The fruit of your spirit will testify for you. The peace you bring will open doors that titles never could. You are recognized not by the noise of ambition, but by the fragrance of presence. The reign of the chosen ones is not about escaping the world, but transforming it. You don't build towers to hide in, you build bridges to heal division. You don't rule from distance, you lead through closeness. The humility you carry makes your crown invisible to the world, but undeniable to heaven. And the beauty of it all is this: your reign has no end. It will echo through every life you touch, every word you speak, every act of kindness you sow. This is the legacy of the chosen light, multiplied through generations. What began as pain has become purpose. What began as survival has become sovereignty. So stand tall, beloved. The darkness that once terrified you now bows to your light. The fear that once silenced you now trembles at your calm. You reign not because you wanted power, but because you embraced peace. That is the secret of heaven's kings and queens. They lead through love and rule through grace. The world may never know your full story, but heaven will never forget it. You are one of the chosen ones, proof that divine promise always outlasts pain, that destiny always finds its vessel, and that light, no matter how small, will always reign in the end. Chosen one, you've reached the end of this message, but not the end of your journey. Every word you've read has been a mirror, reminding you of who you are: divinely chosen, eternally loved, and destined for greatness. You've walked through fire, but now you shine with holy light. You are not just part of this story, you are the story. Heaven continues to write. If these words have stirred something within you, if they've spoken to the places you forgot existed, then let that stirring become action. Like this message, not as a routine, but as a way of saying, I receive this truth. Share it so another soul wandering through their own night might find the same light that found you. Take a moment to comment below. Share what part resonated. Or simply say, I am chosen. Your words might be the sign someone else has been praying for. And if your heart longs for more moments like this, subscribe, not just to follow a voice, but to stay connected to a flow of divine reminders, because heaven is still speaking, and your journey is far from over. You have overcome. Now, go and let your light awaken the world.